Howdy, hey everybody, my name is Silver Knight. I am coming into the world of Guild Wars 2 from the perspective of a long-time World of Warcraft player. This series chronicles my journey through the world of Tyria, which I did actually kind of have to look up because I kind of didn't know the name of the world, but you know, the more you know. And all of its bumbling, falling off cliffs, and getting killed in incredibly stupid ways glory. I hope you enjoy. So I gotta travel to whatever to visit the line. Oh, so that's why. Okay, so basically I'm basically too high a level. Maybe not too high a level, but I'm a high enough level that I keep just sort of continuing on with the story without having to. Let me up. Let me up. Let me up. I can't get up there. Ball sacks. Actually, am I able to get up there? Vernic Crypt. The hell is that? Hold on. I'm now curious as to what that means. Also, I see ore up there, so therefore I must check for it. I will find a way up to that ore slot, maybe. It's a definite maybe. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. There we go. But yeah, I'm really, really liking this so far. The story feels like it's not as, I would say, in your face as the Final Fantasy XIV story, which clearly that's literally what the game is about. The game is about following the story. It's as JRPG as you can get. And if that's not your thing, then, you know, by all means, it's not your thing. But I imagine that if you kind of like narrative content, but really are not feeling just how pervasive the story in Final Fantasy XIV is, I think this is a really good alternative. Because it's got a good story, but it's also not specifically about the story. If you don't care about the narrative going on here, you can still enjoy a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And also, it's not really, you know, I think the biggest downside of Final Fantasy XIV is the fact that it's so story-driven that everything is locked behind it. So unless you complete the story, you're not going to have access to a lot of the game, basically. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, could you actually get to max level? Well, no, you couldn't, because you wouldn't have access to the expansion content. So, I mean, you could technically grind to 50, quote-unquote, power level your way through all of the... I mean, but at that point, just do the story as you're going. Like, you wouldn't even be able to have access to a lot of the stuff. So you kind of have to... Yeah, you kind of have to do the story. By the way, screenshots... Doink. Screenshot time. I love me some screenshots. This game is gorgeous, though. Is it dated? Maybe a teeny tiny bit, but it's just, it is absolutely gorgeous looking, and I love it. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. There was stuffs down here. Yes, I remember you, my little saplings. I must come back to find you. Don't worry, Mama hasn't forgotten about you. I will harvest you like there is no tomorrow. You know, I really should have vetted that sentence in my head a little bit more, but it's fine. Like a castle on a hill. I think this was written by Jeremy Soule, right? Jeremy Soule? How the hell do you pronounce the guy's last name? I feel kind of like a scrub, but whoever wrote it, he wrote pretty... Oh, wait. It's over here. Hang on. Dude. Yes, I actually just teleported over rather than just spent the 45 seconds walking. But you know what? I'm going to make that 45 copper back pretty easily, so... So, let's revisit. What are Guild War 2's strengths? Big open world... really varied and immersive combat. From what it seems, very unique classes, although admittedly I haven't really tried another class other than this. But the fact that even within this single class, there's a bunch of different varying playstyles. The visuals are really good. They're more realistic than WoW's without being super dated so far.
More will come.
Really cool crafting. An interesting and engaging personal story. Again, the fact that it's just very freeform and open. In a way, this kind of feels more like an evolution of the MMO genre versus what WoW originally was. You know, this feels like an evolution upon WoW's way of doing things, where PvP is clearly a big focus, where it's, as mentioned, you know, it's realm versus realm, world versus world, etc., etc. So there is a big focus on PvP without overshadowing it, you know. Games like Ion, even though they had really good PvP combat back in the day, even me, not as like a big, you know, super competitive PvPer, the PvP was good. You know, it felt relatively balanced if you were fighting classes or people around your level. It was pretty balanced. It wasn't super crazy. You know, it wasn't super crazy imbalanced, especially while leveling. It felt good. But PvP was the focus of the game, so even though you had PvE elements, you couldn't turn PvP off. So if you got ganked, you got ganked, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. PvP seems to be a very big focus of this game. Perhaps even more so than WoW at this point. You know, I honestly, legitimately, I feel bad for WoW players who still really enjoy PvP content because they have not seen a whole lot of love in, Jesus, the past 5 or 6 years. I don't think they've gotten any Battlegrounds in years. They haven't really gotten any meaningful content, with the exception of new seasons. They've been just kind of like drip-fed, like random bullshit. Howdy, Max Helm, how you doing today? But it seems to have a decent PvP following. It seems to, PvP matters without it being the sole focus. You know, it seems to, that is to say, it seems to balance PvP and PvE pretty well, actually. But then again, I haven't really delved into any of the PvP, so I can't really say. But it seems to be that PvP is a very big scene in this game. I have no idea about really any of the PvE endgame. I'm assuming there seems to be a big PvE element as well, and they seem to balance it decently well. Like, look at this. Look at just the fantasy feeling of this. This feels like a big world, even though you have to zone, even though it's not quote-unquote open world. There are, you know, zone blocks and barriers and everything. It's still, each zone feels big, you know? I'm not bad, I can't complain. I actually have 2 days off in a row, so that's pretty sweet. Oh shit, that's right. I haven't actually updated my schedule on my page. I'm gonna have to do that. But like I said, I actually have 2 days off in a row, so hell yeah, I haven't had one of those in a hot minute. I just got some foodstuffs back, so I can actually make myself a sandwich. I ran out of I ran out of bread and peanut butter a couple of days ago, and I've just been meaning to actually go around and words. I got distracted by like the looking by that vista. Look at that view, dude. Look at that shit. Like, this game is gorgeous looking, man. Maybe I just have low standards, but I love the fact that this game just, it feels, say it feels real, but it feels realistic. Like, every zone kind of has, like, what am I trying to say? As beautiful as WoW's design is, and WoW, you can say a lot of things about it, but its art has always been, like, its art team has always carried. Even when everything about the game has been hot garbage, the zone and the art design always looks fantastic. But the art team can only carry so much, right? Like, the past, I mean, at least since Legion, because that's when it started, I think, in which the zones were, like, you see how this is just very broad and sweeping, and it just has this kind of a feeling of personality to it? You know, WoW, the zones tend to feel very over-designed recently. They're very cramped and claustrophobic, and everything has its, like, everything kind of feels like a hub, which is fine, but it kind of starts to take you out of it. It feels less like you're exploring this new area, and more like you're going from one hub to the next, you know what I mean? It's gorgeous, but it's also a little soulless in certain ways. This feels open and just very open. Like, I mean, honestly, even though it has the zone barriers and the loading screens and stuff like that, truthfully, I imagine that the work it would take the development team to to get rid of those zone lines and just make it a quick barrier, like a quick little tunnel from one zone to the next, would actually be minimal at best. Like, you could turn this into an open world game pretty freaking quickly. The amount of work that they do, I mean, like, look at the world map, right? Like, yeah, you see between here and there, there is a zone line between Lion's Arch and here, but you can see that there's really not much between each of these zones. They could probably remove that and not really have a huge impact upon the visuals. It may have an impact on like server stability, because I'm assuming those loading zones are there for a reason, but you can clearly see from the map how you're supposed to get from one zone to another. You go from here to here. Like, there wouldn't be much keeping you from going to these zones, you know, from designing a space to, you know, loading zone free, walk from one zone to another. You know, there's not much design-wise. Like, it was a choice and perhaps a necessity, but there's not much keeping it. You know what I mean? So the zone barrier doesn't feel like shit. The zone divide feels less... what am I trying to say? The zone divide feels less jarring here than it does in fucking WoW. Like, and that doesn't even have zone barriers. Like, the divide between freaking Ashenvale Forest and Fellwood was pretty jarring, right? To the point where you could see the biomes shift very drastically. Here, it actually feels a little bit more, it feels a little bit more gradual. You know, I mean, the zone divides between here in Final Fantasy XIV was a little bit more jarring as well. And I mean, Final Fantasy XIV is a gorgeous world. Like, their zones are so goddamn beautiful. So this world feels very good. This was eventually this started off as like a pros and cons, and then I kind of forgot about the cons. I mean, like, what are the cons of the game? Minor so far, as far as I'd say. Like, the combat feels really good, but maybe this is just my bias talking. I still don't think there's any MMO whose netcode feels as good as WoW's. You know, WoW's, and I mean just the guts of the game. I'm not talking about class design or level design or anything, but just you hit a button and something happens. WoW, especially since Warlords of Draenor, Warlords of Draenor, as poorly received as that expansion was, they apparently did some back-end netcode stuff to the point where it is so goddamn responsive to play that. I don't necessarily know, you know, if that's the same in like oceanic servers or what have you, but you press a button and it happens. You know, you jump and the jump happens. You know, just the way it feels to press a button in WoW is so goddamn responsive, and that's one of the reasons I sometimes still feel the itch to go back and play, because it just feels good to play. The only bad thing I can say about this game is that there are too many loading screens. And yeah, I mean, that's the point where it's like, it's more of a design choice to have loading screens here. It's like almost more of an aesthetic thing, where maybe it was just to help with the netcode, or to help with the server load on going from zone to zone, versus trying to find a way to get them to sort of load seamlessly, as it were. Because as you know, like in WoW, if the entire continent, you know, of Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms is just one quote-unquote zone. And, you know, all of those continents are served on one server. So if something goes wrong with that server, the entire fucking continent is just down. You are out, you are completely SOL. Whereas here, if something is wrong with this zone, and for whatever reason this zone goes down, then you lose access to one zone. You don't lose access to the entire world. But I wouldn't even necessarily say that the game is unresponsive, because it is very responsive. It's just, you know, I guess maybe personal bias. It still doesn't feel quite as good as WoW, just because whatever WoW did for their netcode, like, whatever you want about Blizzard and how they run things, but their netcode has always been really, really good and very, very responsive. I mean, perhaps maybe less so now, but we're talking like Warcraft 3, OG StarCraft, you know, WoW, even especially up past Warlords of Draenor, their netcode has always been really fantastic. Like, I haven't really played an MMO that has, quote-unquote, felt better. And again, that's probably bias, but, you know, if you could import whatever the special sauce that WoW has into this would be better in, like, every respect. And it makes me sad to say. I love WoW, man. I loved playing WoW. And the fact that they're total asshats that just treat their people poorly makes me really sad. But I loved playing the game, and there's a part of me that still just wishes that they could just make the game feel less like a chore. If it could be if they could make it so that way, and this sounds weird, right, in terms of WoW. If they could make it so that way, they just removed fucking portals from the game. Not really removed them, but made it less about making portals. Like, Shadowlands pisses me off because each zone is, you can tell it's its own thing. Its flight point into that zone has completely removed the element of it being a cohesive world, What WoW, I think, needs, aside from just a complete overhaul of its design team, it is a design philosophy that the game is supposed to be a world. It's supposed to be this gigantic cohesive unit. And at this point, I think it's the best thing that WoW could do. And again, this has turned into a rant about WoW, but they always turn into rants about WoW at some point or another. I'm a Jilted X lover. I've kind of accepted that about myself. It's fine. I may as well just own it. That the biggest thing that WoW could do was to bring the world back into Warcraft. That don't raise the level cap. Or if you do raise the level cap back up to 70, they have access to this chromie time, this time walking type stuff. How cool would it have been that once you completed the Covenant campaign, right? Or one of their bullshit renown things, whatever, that once you completed, quote unquote, the story of WoW, that you unlocked the ability to increase time walking to level cap for all of your other characters, or even for your own character. You unlock just straight up time walking, so your main character could talk to Chromie and be like, hey, I want to enter time walking, and then it's boom. WoW's current level cap is 60, and then boom, you enter a version of time walking where everything is now level 60. All of the old world scales up to level 60, or you just scale down to level 50. You have the ability to go back at quote unquote max level and experience the game as close to intended as possible. How much could you get out of the game if you could just go back and play other expansions? There's so much of the world that no longer feels relevant because you're just locked into you're locked into Korthia. I don't want to play Korthia. So all of these other places kind of irrelevant. Like, I could go back and do them, but I'm not even talking from a purely progressive standpoint, like, oh, you need to do power progression. No, just let me fucking play the game. Let the game feel relevant. Let old zones feel kind of relevant. It doesn't even have to be for power progression. I don't give a shit about power progression. I just don't want to run around one-shotting everything. I want the world to feel at least sort of mildly dangerous. Like, I am in a zone that caps out at level 30. My level has now been capped down to level 29. Can I, three-shot these mobs? Are these mobs a lot easier to beat now than they were at level 29? Probably, because there does seem to be, a passive scaling effect where I'm still maybe 1 or 2% stronger now, or maybe 5 or 10% stronger now than I was at level 29. And quite frankly, that's fine. Having said that, even though I'm a lot stronger, if I get mobbed by these guys, all of these mobs have mechanics in such a way where they can still theoretically kill me if I play poorly. If I don't pay attention to their mechanics and they just chain stun me, or what have you, if I got 5 or 6 of these mobs doing those sorts of AoE abilities, and I'm not paying attention to it, I can still die because I'm ignoring mechanics. I like the fact that, the world needs to have some small measure of challenge, or else it doesn't mean anything. It's nice to go back to old zones and to overpower them and stuff like that. That does have a sense of progression, but when 95% of the game now feels completely useless, and I am, quote unquote, stuck in, 2 or 3 zones, then it's very easy for the game to feel stale. And that's any game. That's not even an MMO. That's an RPG. That's an action shooter. That's, I have no idea how, CSGO works or whatever. But imagine if in Overwatch or whatever, again, I don't know, I'm talking out of my ass here, but imagine in any genre if you got locked into 2 or 3 maps, because those were the only maps that were worthwhile, because all the other ones, it was either unbalanced or there was just no point in playing them because they were no longer, not even extrinsically, they weren't intrinsically, excuse me, they weren't intrinsically rewarding to play because there's no challenge. Imagine if you go back and play Super Mario Brothers. And you could somehow go back to 1-1 after beating 8-4, but because you loop back, suddenly, all of the holes are filled in, and all of the Goombas, like you're just in perma star mode where all of the Goombas just fall over and die, and all of the holes are just paved over, and falling over, you know, falling down a hole just puts you back at the previous zone. Like, it's impossible for you to die. How boring would the game get? You know, the game has to still hold some level of challenge. It still has to be, there we go, engaging. It has to be engaging, and I know that WoW has this thing where it tracks player engagement. Engagement doesn't mean just playing the game. It means actually engaging in the game. And they keep seeming very surprised that their engagement numbers and their monthly active users keep on dropping. It's because players are not engaged in the game. Forcing them to play does not make them engaged. You know, making the game engaging will make players engage in the game. And that's for anything. That's for single player games. That's for JRPGs. That's for shooters. That's for fucking chess. Imagine if there was a chess 2.0. What would that do for chess 1.0 players? People would just keep playing fucking chess. They'd be like, fuck your new version of chess. It's dumb. I'm not playing it. You added a bunch of rule sets. Although, fun fact, chess has, what, like a 1,500-year history? Recently, you know, originally, what was it? Oh, I can't remember where I read it, so I don't even know if this is necessarily true. But I believe there was a version of chess at one point where you had to roll a die to determine what piece you could move. Could you imagine that RNG in a chess game? You know what move you want to do, but oops, you roll a 6-sided die and now you can only move a rook. GG. Wait a minute, how many pieces are, how many chess pieces are there? There are 16 pieces. There are 6 different types of chess pieces, though. That actually lends credence to it. Did you have to roll a die to play chess? Let me see. Dice chess can refer to a number of chess variants in which dice are used to alter gameplay. So that actually is a variant of gameplay for chess, is you use a dice, you roll a die, or roll multiple dice to determine which one you can play. Like, imagine that. I've been saying, like, WoW either needs to do a WoW 2 or a new IP altogether. I mean, the thing is, I think WoW as it is theoretically can be salvaged, but I don't think it can be salvaged with the design team and the design philosophy that they have, because their design philosophy is very restrictive and very reductive, and they keep removing features. Every time they go to a new expansion, they're not expanding anything. They're actually retracting. They're saying, hey, go to this new expansion. Hey, do this new thing. Hey, do this, use this new system. No, you have this massive world. Expand upon that world. You have this world, use it. WoW's world is so fucking huge and so cool and so good, and they have so many tools available to them to make that game worth playing again. Shit, they reintroduced classic WoW into basically modern IP, modern server tech. There is literally nothing. There is nothing except a few lines of code that keep them from reintroducing vanilla WoW, vanilla Kalimdor, vanilla whatever, back into the game. Shit, they did it for Legion. Not the whole world, but they reintroduced for part of the storyline in High Mountain when you were fighting Holn High Mountain, right? When you're fighting in one of the Legion storylines in a High Mountain, you could go back 10,000 years to the War of the Ancients. You were fighting in vanilla Ashara. You were fighting in that old zone. They had the old zone available for you to play. They have the game, the original classic game, fully replayable. There is literally nothing from keeping them from reintroducing that back into retail. There's nothing that keeping them except a few lines of code and maybe some server infrastructure. There's nothing that keeps them from having Chromie and other time, infinite bronze, whatever the fuck, from a lore standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint. There's nothing that keeps them from using that. They just aren't. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes manpower. Yes, literally everything takes time and manpower to do. That's not an excuse. That takes a lot of time. So does anything. Designing a good game takes just as much time as designing a bad game. They've spent 5 years designing bad versions of the game, and yes, I loved Legion. I played the shit out of it, and I still think I got my $60 money's worth from playing it, but ultimately it wasn't a well-designed game. It was rife with design problems, and the only reason it was good is because, one, it was new and shiny, and two, it threw a shitload of lore people at it. And frankly, it didn't even do that good of a job. There were certain points of it that were really, really good, and then you have moments like, hush, Tyrande. Fuck you. What? No. No, fuck you, Malfurion. Like, you've been asleep for 10,000 years. Your Tyrande, your hush Tyrande, has been, like, saving the world's ass for 10,000 years. I don't want to hear it. There's nothing, like, it takes just as much time to design a bad game as it does to design a good game. It all takes time. So take the time to do it right rather than taking the time to do it wrong. You know what I mean? I know I should be going to Lion's Arch and stuff like that, but this zone is pretty and relaxing, and I just kind of want to run around it while ranting about WoW, apparently. It's fine. It's fine. I'm playing a video game, damn it, and I'm allowed to do that. Dagnabbit, stop shooting me, Mr. Centaur. I assure you. Downed player. Oh, there's a downed... Oh, are they gone? I think they just rezzed. That's unfortunate. I would have rezzed them. Also, another point in Guild Wars 2's favor. Any player can resurrect anybody else. That's nice. I don't have to be a quote-unquote healer to help a player out. That's cool. That's one of my favorite things about Vanilla WoW, was that you could just run around and, like, randomly buff people. That shit's amazing. I love it. Have I mentioned lately that this zone is fucking amazing? Because this zone is fucking amazing. Like, look at this. This game is gorgeous in 4K. Right now, I'm technically playing it in 1440p. Like, I downscaled my monitor to 1440p, so that way it still looks as buttery smooth via what the hell do you call this thing? I'm literally staring at it, OBS. It looks as good in OBS as it does on my monitor. Something to do with GPU and CPU resources, etc., etc. Like, my GPU, I think, gets mad if I try to open up OBS while I'm playing the game in 4K. So it still runs, but it'll sometimes either... one fun thing about OBS, by them adding different stats and stuff like that, that I actually have the ability to see in way more detail what my usage is. So I can see not only how many frames I've lost due to on stream, I can see how many frames I've lost due to rendering lag and encoding lag. So now I can actually see, it's not just a visual, like, am I missing something? But no, I can actually see if I'm losing frames due to rendering and encoding, which is really cool and really helpful for, also, if nothing else, than for troubleshooting. So it's really cool to have that as an option, and I can see specifically in detail when I'm probably overtaxing my GPU and causing my recording to not look its buttery smooth best. And there's still a part of me that kind of wants to go and still play it on a 1080p panel with that super buttery smooth, like 120, 140 FPS. But man, I like the pretty. I love the pretty, man. It feels so good. Like, and this is the issue that I keep having, where it's like, I probably should have just kept to a 1440, like a high, a 1440p 144 hertz panel instead of buying the full 4K 60 experience. It's gorgeous, but man, when you have high refresh rate, it looks so good. And going back to 1080p, I can't believe I'm saying this, because I mean, I'm definitely not like your cutting edge technological person. Like, I was still using a 4x3 monitor, I'm pretty sure, in like Wrath of the Lich King era. Like, I actually had to go out and buy a new mouse and keyboard that was USB, because the computer I upgraded to no longer had PS2 ports. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I can't use my mouse and keyboard anymore? This is bullshit. I actually have to go out and spend like $30 on a new mouse and keyboard so that way I can play. Yeah, so I'm that kind of person. You know, my family was still using the Commodore 64 when it was introduced into the freaking Smithsonian Tech Museum. I'm definitely not, you know, cutting bleeding edge technologically anything. But dude, going back to 1080p, I mean, like the jaggies and stuff like that, like the visual, like the anti-aliasing and stuff like that, honestly doesn't bother me, because you can just use FXAA and SMAA and reshade settings and all that kind of stuff to cut all that out. Like, the actual rendering looks fine. It's the UI elements starts to, like, the fact that I can still read, like, chat down here. You know, on 1080p, it's a lot more difficult. I say difficult, but it's a lot harder on the eyes to read chat in a 1080p screen versus reading it on like 1440 or 4K. Just having that 2 and 4 times as many pixels to read things like text is so much easier. I never realized how difficult it could be to read things on a 1080p panel versus reading something in 4K. Like that alone, I'm like, man, but having to give up the buttery smoothness is sort of like, however, I mean, I also know that's 4K, like high refresh 4K panels exist, but they're also like $700 a piece. So, but to answer your question, yes, this game looks absolutely fucking ballin' in 4K. It looks so good. I'm up for a challenge. I have no idea what I'm doing, but apparently I just answered a challenge. And oh hey, how's it going? Hey guys, how's it going? Hi guys, what's up? Oh. They just died. I assumed that they were all veterans. All right, well, that was anticlimactic. I got a hero point though, so sweet. Where the hell am I anyway? What zone am I in? Did I not just come from... Oh, I was in Gandarian Fields the entire time. Okay, I thought I was in this place. That's fair. That's fair enough. But yes, this game is ballin' as fuck looking, and I love it. I have a 32-inch 4K monitor on my Amazon wish list for $300 I want to get eventually. So I think I have... That might be the one that I have. Is it an Acer monitor by chance? Because I have a 32-inch 4K monitor that cost me a little, like... I think it was on sale for $300, but it was like roughly $300 before tax. And it's really nice. Like, I mean, it's really, really nice to play this and other games in 4K. It feels really good to play these games in 4K. 4K is fucking gorgeous. But again, honestly, like as crisp as everything is in 4K, what's really the pseudo deal breaker is the UI. Like seeing UI elements in 4K just makes all the difference in the world. It is so hard to go back to a 1080p panel after seeing the UI in 4K, even though the high refresh rate is so nice looking. Like, it's really addictive. I actually ended up starting playing WoW again and not say hardcore, but I ended up getting sucked back into playing WoW for a day or so while testing out the high refresh rate 1080p, just because WoW looks so good in 1080, like, it looks so good at high refresh rate. I mean, granted, it should, because WoW can be run on a fucking potato. But, you know, seeing a game like that or any game run at high refresh rate feels so good. And it's a lot easier on the eyes, too. Like, I can't stress that even though this is really smooth and it feels buttery smooth, being able to do this and to have that render at, 90, 100, 120, 140 hertz, having the high refresh rate when you're turning makes things a lot easier on the eyes, and it's a lot less painful over the long term because it doesn't feel as I'm not really noticing it now, but once I see something where it's high refresh rate, it's immediately noticeable, if that makes sense. The Samsung. Oh. Ah, I see. Okay. 4K. The single. That's very similar to what I have. It's not the same brand, but it's very similar to what I have. Because I think the one that I have is it's actually listed for color accuracy, which is pretty cool. Not that I necessarily use it for the color accuracy, because I use it on the there's like an eco-friendly preset that also it's like low blue light option or something like that, which helps a lot as well. Like, that helps a lot, having a low blue light option for reducing eye fatigue. Color fatigue, what the hell am I talking about? But like, the 4K looks really good. And honestly, I mean, even though I'm, quote unquote downscaling to 1440p, having that as oh my god, I'm dead. I didn't realize there was a cliff there. I thought that was just a river and maybe like a small hill. I deserve to lose that 41 copper. When you forget that flight form doesn't work. Yeah, so, but having the option to downscale to 1440p if you need is also really nice, because my brain also has a little bit of trouble reconciling that I'm downscaling to 1440p, or if windowed 1440p is an option, my brain's like, no, that's like 720p, bitch. What are you talking about? It does look a little bit on the fuzzy side, I guess, because this is obviously clearly designed for 4K. But I mean, even though it's downscaled to 1440p, it still looks really good. You know, maybe a little bit on the fuzzy side, quote unquote, but also given the fact that there is like depth blur, depth of motion, whatever the hell they call it, from farther out, it just makes it look a little bit softer. It's not necessarily detracting, if that makes sense. But yes, this game looks amazing at 4K. I don't think I've come and run into a game yet that actually looks, quote unquote, bad in 4K. Like, I'm playing freaking 240p games that I've upscaled to 240, so it's 480, right? Because I have I bought a retro tank at some point. I don't even remember when, actually. I unboxed and I was like, when the fuck did I buy this? But I bought a retro tank, which is, I think, a 2x upscaler for all of my console games. And I'm playing, you know, what amounts to a 480p game on a 43-inch 4K television. And I mean, does it look like the most crisp, fantastic thing ever? Not necessarily. It's definitely not going to look good as something that's emulated or just straight up adding an HDMI port or whatever. But for being an upscaled, essentially 480p image on a 4K display, it still looks really good. You know, for something that is being, you know, blown up onto something that's like 16 times its resolution size, it still looks surprisingly crisp. And it looks way, 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 way better on the 4K panel versus the 1080p panel of the exact same size. Like, it's night and day. It looks so much crisper, so much cleaner. You know, it looks better. Just across the board better. And I would say if you have the option to get a 4K monitor and still have the option to have another monitor that does 144 hertz, then go for it, because that way, if you want the high refresh rate, you can just switch display options to the 1080p monitor. And if you want the pretty, you have the pretty as an option, you know. But this game is absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, the game is just like, the world feels, even though it's not quote unquote open world, and, you know, there are loading screens that may feel sometimes a little bit on the unnecessary side, it still feels open world despite having the loading screens. It still feels like this big place to explore. And I love the fact that this game is sort of doubled down on horizontal progression that gives you new places to explore, rather than, you know, WoW's vertical progression where everything you do just kind of gets immediately invalidated. And I mean, for expansion periods, like, I get it, but I just really wish that if WoW wants to bring players back, like I said, they need to just go back to the drawing board and completely rethink. They can still have vertical progression, but I think they need to slow vertical progression down. And I think that they need to make the old world relevant in a way that feels meaningful, not just power grinds, but something that is actually useful. I know that there are going to be like hardcore raiders that, look, if it doesn't have power progression, I don't care. Well, cool, that means you can raid log. And I know there are going to be people like Tally who are like, well, if it's not power progression, and, you know, I don't want to raid log. I always want to be grinding for power. And I'm like, honestly, for people like that, I really don't think games should be catered to the people that want to power grind forever. I honestly don't think infinite grinds work. They can be helpful, maybe, to a certain extent, but even, like, infinite grinds just, honestly, I think, for most people, I think infinite grinds just make people want to not play. It's cool to have a way to constantly increase your power, maybe, but I think that it has to have diminishing returns. You know what I mean? If there is infinite power, there has to be, like, incredibly, insanely diminishing returns. I think BDO technically has no level cap, but effectively, I want to say it's like 52 or 54 is effectively the end cap, is effectively the cap, because at that point, the amount of time it takes to level, it gets so ridiculous that it's just literally not worth doing. You know? So I think infinite grinds could work, but they have to have that where it becomes so ridiculous to actually level that there's just no point to it. I think WoW did that correctly at one point with the whatever the fuck the knowledge was, where it's like you could technically level it forever, but after like 40 or 50, the amount that it would take to get you to level to that point was so ridiculous, and the gains that you would get were so minuscule that it's like, there's just no point. Why are you bothering to do it? Because it's not going to amount to anything, you know. And there are going to be the hardcore people where it's like, you can do this, but also functionality, why? But then again, it's also WoW's mindset in general, you know, the mindset of the player base, the mindset that the game has sort of normalized for the player base is that if you were not bleeding edge, then it doesn't matter, you know. And I mean, the people who say, well, it's only the 1% who care. Well, the 1% kind of dictate what the other 99% want to do, because you don't have to be 1% to want your character to feel like, what am I trying to say? The 1% dictate whether or not the 99% feel like they're wasting their time. Because honestly, that's one of the reasons I haven't really bothered with any sort of group content for several years, and I actually just went full-on casual. Because it got to the point where it felt like me getting on the treadmill and getting on the hamster wheel and doing all of these arbitrary grinds, they felt arbitrary. It felt like there was no point. Why am I doing this? This accomplishes nothing. You know what I mean? I'm just going to get on the treadmill to get this stuff, to just have it be completely invalidated just to do it again. Like, why? Why am I doing this? And the thing is, they've added so many extra systems over the years that overlap on top of each other, so you have to keep doing more things that you may or may not enjoy to do the thing that you do enjoy, only for it to be made irrelevant a patch or two later. It's like, why? That's pointless. It's actually pointless. What am I doing this for? And it ends up being that you don't enjoy what it is that you're doing. Even if you enjoy running dungeons, it doesn't feel good to run dungeons to get something that you already know is going to be made obsolete in 6 months or so. Yeah, there's the fun in doing it, but also it's going to stop being fun eventually. I know, right? Waterfall is freaking gorgeous. How do I get over there? How do I get over there without dying? Let me clarify. Never mind, I'm dumb. I found a way to get there without dying, guys. Hey. Hut. I also got the chance to get a new vista. Sweet. This game is fucking gorgeous. I really can't stress that enough. This game's like visual design is just mwah. Freaking magnifique, man. Hut. I said hut. Itch. There we go. Okay, so I'm supposed to go to Lion's Arch, yeah? Actually, no. It's been a little over 2 hours. I think I can go a little bit longer. I think I can go a little bit more. Let's continue on with the story just a little bit. Because I meant to get on at 2. I ended up getting on at like 2:30 or so. Let go. There we go. I think I can stand to go a little bit longer. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. The phlegm has seemed to have worked its way out, so I'm not coughing nearly as much as I used to, which is wonderful. I hear drinking tea is actually good for that. It's good for calming the throat. Calming the throat is not the word. It's good for clearing the throat and just relaxing the muscles, I guess, easing pain, etc., etc. Setting the stage. Hell yeah. Where am I going? I don't know. The Shadow knows. Shadow don't know shit. I really need to put this game onto an SSD. You swam under a waterfall when you lived in Hawaii years ago. That sounds freaking cool. I went to Hawaii for 5 days, and I'm glad I did, because I'm pretty sure I'll never have the availability to do it again. So, and it was gorgeous, by the way. Swam in Waikiki Beach, immediately cut my foot open within about 20 minutes of getting there. Had to like hobble my way off the beach, trying to... You ever try to fight your way off the tides, trying to run up, like walk up a beach during tides while your foot is cut open, so you're trying not to use one of your feet? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had families just staring at me, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Eventually just said fuck it, and just walked my way up a beach with a bleeding foot, limped back to my hotel, and the person was like, that poor person, they were all just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, you have fun on the beach? And I'm just like, where is it? Like, is there a doctor nearby? I was just like, where is the pharmacy? I'm like, or what was that? It's like, do you have fun? And I'm like, do you have rubbing alcohol? Like, why? I'm like, I cut my foot open. Like, where do I... Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was lots of fun. I still have a scar on my foot. And it was, I think it was, my big toe was my big toe, the second toe, and the third toe. Like, I'd cut open all of that on a piece of coral. And I mean, they did say, they were like, you want to wear the little booties? And I'm just like, who gives a shit about that? And then as I was trying to swim my way back up, I kicked one of the coral and cut my foot open. So needless to say, I definitely wore the booties the rest of the week. It's good times. It was good times. I told my friends, and they were all like, only you would manage to freaking like cut your foot open in Hawaii. And I'm like, I know. Trust me. Okay, where am I going? Yoop. Been so long since I've seen them together. This will work. It must. I'm not sure what you're doing, Kate, but I'm here if you need me. What are we doing? Who are we talking to? What's going on? Oh, we got ourselves a roundtable meeting. Shit.
Welcome, fellow members of Destiny's Edge. We must speak of the threat of the Elder Dragons.
When I agreed to come, I didn't know you'd be inviting this char.
I could say the same for you, human. Finally crawling back for forgiveness, Logan.
I've done nothing that needs to be forgiven.
Logan, Ritlock, enough of your squabbling. Kaith, I doubt that we can unite again. Not after our last mistake.
The Norn's right. When heirs to Galkin makes mistakes, people die.
Is that what you think, Soja? That what happened was my fault?
Please, all of you, our time has come. We must help the Orders. We have fought the Elder Dragons before.
And lost. Because someone couldn't keep up with us.
You have something to say it to my face.
I would if you weren't always running away. I should gut you and be done with it.
Gut me? With what? That human-made sword you looted from Ascalon? I've had enough. We're done here.
Running away again.
Damn.
Ritlock, you're just making it worse.
Ha! Look who's talking! Logan's right, for once. I have more important things to do. I'm done with this.
Damn.
And I refuse to waste my efforts on cowards and fools. Goodbye, Kaith.
It's sad to see Logan and Ritlock argue. If only there was something to bond them together. Yes, I know it might help. Kaith, I have to leave as well. I fear this meeting was a mistake, but maybe I can fix it.
We failed, then. Failed to bring Destiny's Edge back together. We cannot help the others. How can we help Tyria?
I have no idea what the fuck I just watched. But the Norn's kind of cute. Alicia Day, huh? Sweet. They are frozen in that moment. That 1 second when we split apart. Why can't they move beyond it? I don't understand. A death leaves a wound in the survivors. As the Pale Tree mourned when Rhiannoch died, so too do they mourn. Wait, who did we miss? We got one of each of the races. Who are we missing? They are wasting time while the dragons grow stronger. I must find a way to make them see. We will. You are not alone, Kaith. Not alone because you are here. Yes, I will hold on to that through the long nights ahead. Take care, my friend. You will hear from me soon. I'll be waiting. Cool. I got a key. Okie dokie.
That put me into an adventurous mood.
It did, and I'm also very confused. I'm going to assume that each of these main characters are people that you meet at when you're playing each of the races. You see the Asura person when you play Asura, you see the human if you play human, etc., etc. And I'm assuming it's Kaith who calls them there, and then they're all like, well, screw you, I'm out, and nursing old wounds and stuff like that. I see the lion in the corner, and it's so cool looking. Ah! Yee! I really need to put this game on an SSD. Holy shit, these load times, though. Read your mail. What is playing that song? Oh, it's these things. Oh, that's cool. That's a cute little detail. Okay, read my mail. I'm so excited to meet you. You must have wonderful stories to tell. I can't wait to hear them. I've been assigned to escort you to the Durman Priory, so meet me by the Black Lion Trading Company HQ in Lion's Arch, and we'll get started on a grand adventure. An invitation to Caudaeus' Manor. I hope that you are well. The neighborhood is buzzing with excitement about you. I've heard word that there will be a party celebrating the Char-Human peace negotiations in Queensdale. The reception will be at the Manor of Lord Caudaeus, overlooking the shrine at Beetleton. That sounds like fun. It will be attended by diplomats from all the major races. That surely cannot end in bad times. Surely. Captain Logan Thackeray is concerned for the safety of Queen Jenna, who will be attending. And hey, that's the dude that we just saw. A hero of your merit should attend this soiree. Soiree? Is that how it's pronounced? Soiree? Soiree? Sorry? Sure. And offer what help you can. P.S. Your herald. P.S. We understand that Zoja will be attending as well as part of the Asura delegation, but we don't know why. He is always a wild card, so be cautious. Okay. Sounds like fun. Also, speaking of which, I have things to take. If it wants to load, that'll be awesome, though. Where is Black Post? The Black McDoodly-Doo Post. Black Lion Trading Company. I don't know. The town is too big. And my brain doesn't want to work because I probably haven't... Ah, fuck it. I'm going to Cabbage Town. I know where everything is there. Alrighty, off to Cabbage Town we go. So yeah, back to what I was saying in the very beginning. The whole software ability to stream between two different computers is actually really cool. Like I said, I've been able, even though it hasn't worked for my initial use case, I think I'm able to use it to actually start recording more games that I have on console to my main PC, which means that ultimately it's a success. Yay, success! 3 cheers for things being successful. Hold up. I got a lot of shit to sell. So anyway, how y'all doing today? Hope y'all are doing okay. It's currently 5:06 p.m. here. Sell junk. That's a lot of shit that just sold. Strong harpoon. Shredded bag. Trophies. Neato. Oh, God. Oh, that wasn't blood. That was actually just like a fingerless glove. Okay, I was like, what the shit is that? Also, this game's music is amazing. Holy crap. Take all. Sell items. Hidden stash. I really don't know exactly what a lot of this stuff is. But for some reason, the trophies seem to sell for quite a bit. I'm assuming that these are... for, like, repeatables and stuff like that, yeah? Which is fine. If people want to pay money for it, like, I ain't gonna tell them no. Unusable by my profession. That's fine. Please sell faster. Give you cookies. Okay. I mean, it's not a lot of money for it, but it's enough to get the point across. Come on, baby. Anytime now, sweetheart. Ah! Thank you. Longbow. Go to the Citadel. Okay, what do I have left over? An actual decent amount of stuff. Damn. Absolute. Give me. Countbound. Weapons container. Hell yeah. Can I sell this? It's a countbound. Oh, that's... See, this is something that WoW could also use. If they want to talk about alt-friendly and stuff like that, having things be account-bound rather than soul-bound means that you can actually use it for something. Like historical torch. How can I tell what is what? That's level 30, yeah? 230, 270, 245, 287, but that's healing power. I don't give a shit about that. Historical, oh, that's all healing. That sucks. For the elite, so all of this requires level 80 stuff, huh? Can I see how it looks? Preview. Cool. Because even if I can't use it, it moves towards my collections tab and all that shit, right?
Greetings.
Historical hammer. That's fucking cool looking. Yep, that's mine. Yes, give me that skin. Ugh. Wish I'd vetted that in my sentence a little bit more. Vetted that sentence a little bit more. I words good, I promise. Fine and below. I mean, hold up. Hold up. The scepter does more damage. What's this do? Orb. Oh, that's right. It makes the loud sound. That's right. Wait, why can't I sell that? Why am I not able to sell this? Hello?
Cheering for our champion.
Sell my items? Oh, I totally can sell it. Strong Magician's Mark of Mercy, or Mask of Mercy, whatever the frig you call it. Unidentified die. Sell instantly, yes please and thank you. List this item. Is this sell for? I'll just go ahead and use it. Cool. Lemon. Okay. 4 writs of experience. Yes, please and thank you. Give me all the extra EXP. That's a count bound, eh? Select stats. Customize. Oh, hell yeah. Give me, yes please and thank you. Hold up. Swelter's Gate. Wait, this has hold up. Yeah, please. Give me all of the stuffs. Berserkers, Cavaliers, Celestial. Damn! That's just like 6 of everything. Commanders, Crusader. And Berserker sounds good to me. I'll totally take it. When did I get that weapon? Probably should have paid attention, but I'm glad I have it now. Like blind trader, please sell my stuff. Even though it's not very much, I'll still take it. Take all, yes please and thank you. Sure. What? I'll set up spam call. So, alright. Let's see. Alright, so I think I am at kind of a good stopping point. I think I'm at a pretty good stopping point. Actually, let me see. Equipment. Dies. Arrogance. What does that change? The straps. Hang on. Gotta do the most important thing first. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, there we go. Apply. Now I look like a badass. Alright, so I think that is going to call it for now. I'm getting kind of hungry. And I kind of want food. Food is good and it makes me happy. Still distracted by the, you know, Barbie shit. It's fine. It's all good. Alrighty. But thank y'all for stopping by. I was not trying to get like a upskirt of that person's face. That sentence made no sense. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Either way, thank y'all for stopping by. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. I am off tomorrow, so I do want to stream tomorrow, and for once, I'm actually, damn it, I'm holding myself to that. Maybe more Guild Wars 2, maybe Final Fantasy. I don't even know at this point. Like I said, I think I got the software portion of things, so I may be able to stream a console game. I don't know. But either way, I will see y'all next time. Peace out. Buttons are hard, where are buttons?